Good morning. I wish you could see Tony Levine right now because he's in my lobby, and I'm going to bring him in a minute. But Tony is our Friday finale, hashtag Friday Fun Day of Small Business Week, the series we've been doing all week long. I am, honestly, I couldn't think of a better way to wrap up this week. Tony is kind of my small business serial entrepreneur, creative genius idol. The man never runs out of ideas. He sticks with a plan. He's not afraid to experiment, see what sticks, pivot when you need to. I can't tell you how much I've learned from him over the years. And so it is with great pleasure that I'm going to introduce him to you. But first, what I want to tell you is a little housekeeping. Facebook, as you know, takes a little while to get live video rolling out to the peoples. So if you're out there and you're paying attention and you're engaged, you're listening, you're lurking, do me a favor, hit a couple of hearts, hit a couple likes, hit a couple ha-has, no sad faces or angry faces, and tell Facebook that this is moving along, and maybe share and invite people. But okay, we digress. That's it. No more housekeeping. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Levine, the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, jeez.
I know. Come on now. I'm a fan.
Okay. I'll accept it.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan as a friend and just as a person in business with you and having done. So, Tony, welcome. Let's tell the people how we know each other. Should I do it? I'll do it. Or you want to do it?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I had an e-commerce business. It was a little bit of a category breaker, the way that we talk to women around a certain category of products. And Tony was one of the first, Tony's products, Big Teaze Toys, were one of the first collection of products that I said, I have to have that in my merchandise mix. I mean, I have to. And Tony was super, super supportive. I say that like you're not here. You were super, super supportive of my business from the very, very beginning. And your colleague at the time, Stacy, I get a little verklempt. I do. I get verklempt. And I get a little verklempt thinking back on that. You guys didn't know me from Adam. I told you what my plans were, and you said, we're in. And
Stacy was a big supporter of yours.
I know, and I hope she's coming to play with us because I sent her a little message. So I will always be thankful for that. That was a wonderful working relationship. And then after I closed my business, which we've talked a lot about during the Small Business Week series, you said to me, "Hey there, I kind of like what you were doing with all that newfangled social media stuff. Do you think that'll work for Big Teaze Toys? And let's talk about that." And I said, I do think it'll work. And yes, let's.
Yep. I hadn't seen anybody doing anything the way you were doing it. And it was brand new. And I just figured, give it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, some of it worked, some of it didn't. But that's, we were just talking earlier about one of the hallmarks of, I think, what makes you a really great business person, with these consistent ideas is not everything will work, but you can't be afraid to try.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there were some things I just did for me and other things I did for business. And that balance really, it made me happy.
What's something that you did for you?
Oh, there was a product that I did called Man Eaters from Outer Space. And it was a vibrator that looked like a little dwarf big mouth creature, and it was funny as hell. And everybody thought it was great. It was funny. At the trade shows, I made a puppet like it, and I walked around with a puppet that made alien noises. And I did videos. I was traveling a lot at the time. And I did videos in Italian and German and Dutch of people going, Man-Eater from Outer Space is coming and is landing. And it was hilarious. I just walked up to random people. I had my driver in China do it. I had this sales guy in Spain do it. We put it together with clips from 1950s scary movies, and it was just, that was the fun part, was just selling it and getting people excited about it.
Let's review for 1 second. It was a vibrator, and it was called
Man-Eaters from Outer Space. It was meant for men.
And I don't know how we can top that. Should we just call it a day?
No. There were other ones.
Yeah, okay. So that's something you did for yourself.
Right. I mean, we sold some too, but this was one that just made me laugh so hard that it was ridiculous, and everybody looked at it. And after doing the duck, they were like, "Okay, he's nuts. Let's try it." And it was great. It was one of the funnest ones I ever done. It was the backdrop for the package was like from the Godzilla movies, where this big thing was landing on Earth, and the Empire State Building was in the background, and it was retro and stupid and fun.
Well, here's the thing: the F word, the fun word.
That one.
Right, like if you're not having that F word, we have to be careful when we're talking about adult novelties that we specify which F word. So the F word, if you're not having the F word, then why do it?
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur.
Well, ever since I started developing and selling my own products 30 years ago, it's been about this is particular for the adult industry, doesn't really apply, but it was about self-gratification.
See, again, we gotta specify.
Yeah, I know. Well, but it applies. I've been in the pet industry and gift industry and toy industry. And it was about doing things that either helped or made people feel good and made me feel good. And as both an inventor and a designer, I got control, which meant that I got to express it the way I wanted to. And majority of the time, it worked. Some people really appreciated it, but didn't work as well. Mm-hmm. But it was an art outlet that wound up paying for itself and the company and employees. And
created a lot of joy. I mean that literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it really did. If you guys are not familiar with Big Teaze Toys and Tony's whimsical line of adult novelties, I mean, they're kind of hilarious. Pardon me?
I Rub My Ducky was the big one.
I Rub My Ducky. Do you still have one? Because I was looking around to see if I had any, and I either gifted them all or... Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. I got to give you the full screen for this. There we go. I Rub My Ducky. Demonstrate, shall we?
Well, I don't know if you can hear. But it was a dual point pressure massager that you could leave in your bath and nobody would have any idea what the toy was.
Right, which was so fantastic. I love that you had one with a Swarovski crystal on her beak and a boa around her neck in different colors and came in beautiful packaging. And it was, one of the things that I learned from you, and I have shared it with other clients along the way who had somewhat controversial product lines, was you said to me, I have always sold more product when I courted controversy.
Oh, yeah.
From this meek little nothing of a duck that just happened to vibrate. And
yeah, I mean, I got a lot of crap for it in the beginning. And by the time it was in Redbook and Cosmo and Playboy, at the end of the few years, we'd sold over 1 million of them. And everybody looked at it and thought it was crazy, and it became this great gift, and it was almost in every store in Europe for the most case. And we even wound up doing one, well, actually for close to 10 years, I did a custom one for Sephora in Europe. And they used...
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Europeans are less prudish about the whole thing. I mean, as we've all discovered. But the thing that my takeaway from the courting controversy part of it is that, especially as it relates to a consumer-facing communications ideology or plan, whatever you want to call it, that you didn't shy away from it. You used you used what you had. You didn't try to change the narrative to make it more palatable. You used what you had. You used the conversation and said, I like to go from a yes and perspective, not a no but, which is hard to do, But to me, courting controversy is more about the yes and. You said, yes, you said that and?
Yeah, or you looked at my packaging. I never said it was a sex toy.
Right.
You looked at the packaging and you immediately went, we sold them in Long's Drugs for the longest time. Right. And everybody else had their little giggle. And
right.
They thought, my friends and the industry thought I was nuts when I started.
Well, and you showed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you showed them.
Well, can I give you one other example of something that was...
Please.
In the late 80s, the Garfields were real popular, suction cup into the car windows.
Yeah.
And I did a satirical product called Crush Kitty. And what it was sort of the ass half of a cat that would stick out of the trunk of the car. And what was great about it was that everybody on the Hollywood freeway got to see it. And they would laugh their ass off. And I would have people pull me over on the freeway and ask where they could buy it. So for about a year, we were selling them from the trunk of our cars. But it was visible.
Right.
And people just went, what is that butt sticking out of the car? And I got mostly good press. I got for some reason, some religious people yelled at me. Some animal rights people yelled at me. And I own cats, and I donated to things. And at the end, my favorite thing was I got a photo and a letter from a 11-year-old girl in Japan, where it was called Hamadashi Kitty, half in, half out. And she showed me a photo of it in her backpack as she was walking to school. So I got some hate mail and I got some love letters all at the same time.
I love it. And I want to say hi to Mimi. Mimi and I went to high school together. Hi, Mimi. I said that in the most high-pitched voice. It
was pretty squeaky.
Yeah. What was that? Hi, Mimi. I don't know if you're familiar with Tony and the Big Teaze Toys and the I Rub My Duckies and then the I Rub My Wormies and the
I Rub My Penguin.
I Rub My Penguin, and you had the daisies. What were the daisies?
Oh, Super Flower Powers.
Yeah, the Super Flower Powers.
Then there was Verspanken. Oh, if you have a chance, this was the best one we did for promotion. If you go onto YouTube and search Verspanken, Verspanken.
Here, I'll put that here. Verspanken.
It was the best promotional video we ever did, and I went looking it up yesterday. It has over 400,000 hits on it.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! All right, I'm gonna take that down now. Very fun. So we've heard about the things that you did for yourself. What were some of the things that you did? Strictly for business.
I worked in the pet industry for about 12 years, and my dad used to walk down the street every night holding a flashlight and a leash. And I designed the first retractable leash with a built-in flashlight. Uh-huh. And we sold that in PetSmart and Petco for 10 plus years. And that one was strictly for helping people. So I did a line of night safety products for that period. Mm-hmm. I worked several companies. Actually, one of my very first products was I designed a adaptive, flexible feeding device for stroke victims. And I originally designed the first one for my grandmother, who was a stroke victim. And the whole point was when they had problems with mobility in their hands, they would just give them something that would strap to their hand, and then they had to figure out a way to use it with their arms. And what I did is I designed something that was sort of like a Gumby with a fork up its butt. And it was flexible, and you could adapt it to the different deformations of somebody's hands. So they felt more like they were able to use it in their limited mobility. Mm-hmm. And that was actually one of the first products I ever did. And I wound up licensing it to a toy company when I was 24. I wound up licensing it as a feeding device for kids for $10,000.
And how many units did they end up selling?
I don't know the total numbers,
Yeah.
but I borrowed $1,500 from my mom for a patent on it, with her never expecting to get the money back.
Right.
And when I got the check, I never told them about it beforehand. So when I got the check, I hired a limo to pick them up, and I said, "We're going to dinner anywhere you want." My mom goes, "Let's go to El Torito, 4 blocks away." I hand her this envelope, and I give her the check with the money back, and she's surprised, and she goes, "Are you into drugs? Where'd you get this money?"
That's the kind of person you are, Tony. You're a giver. You're a giver. But I love that all of these things that you created and imagined were born out of, you identified a need and you saw that it needed to be filled, and then you didn't let anybody say, "No, you can't." You just did.
I believed in it.
Right. And I think that's super rare and super important. I mean, there's a lot of people who believe in I'm going to swear now, there's a lot of people who believe in their shit, but it's crap. And, there it is. And maybe yours was too. It wasn't clearly, but there's that fine line. You know what I mean?
My patent attorney says 1 out of 100 products go to a patent, and only 1 out of 10 of those becomes a business. And then I think he said 1 out of 10 of those actually become successful.
Mm-hmm. So you've got a couple under your belt. This is why I'm telling you, Tony's the guy you need to talk to. So we don't want to dwell too much on the past, because we're coming up on 10:20 here. I also know, so you sold Big Teaze Toys, and I don't think you ever had, actually, let me ask, with any of those businesses, did you ever have an exit strategy? Or was it, I'm doing this because I believe in it, there's a need, there's a passion, I want to grow it, I want to develop it, I'm having the F word,
Yeah.
I'm having fun. Did you always have an exit strategy, or at some point did you go, oh, I think I now see an exit strategy and I should probably do that?
In the pet industry, no. That one, I got tired of working in the corporate world. The contracts were ridiculous. You were always pressured. And when I started in the adult industry, had a goal of where I was going to go. I didn't know what the timing was going to be or what the final reason was going to be. But I did. I did. There were limitations on what I could do as an individual owner. And I still had lots of ideas. So I wasn't going to let that stop me. I was just going to try to evolve.
Right.
And, took a little break, and I'm still starting to research new product. I just got back from China, visiting some factories, and I'd say sometime this year I'm probably going to release 1 or 2 new products in different industries.
Now, okay, we can't reveal what that is. That has to be super secret, and I respect that. But what I do want to talk about is, with all the past experience you have, and most of those started without the benefit of being able to easily research a new product idea, the space that it lived in, the potential consumer, but you didn't have that. Right. What are you doing differently now, based on all your experience and going forward? What are you doing differently now to research this new Tony chapter? How is it different?
The internet has changed everything.
I'm sorry, and I just want to ask one question. Has it cut down the research time and the potential to market time and all of that for you?
Well, I don't know if it's really cut down on the research time, because I found more product to look into.
Oh.
So it's made me much more aware of what the competitive market is.
Okay.
And pricing structure and distribution. So the level of information has gone up, but so is the amount of time I've spent researching it. So it saves me a lot more time up front and helping me make decisions about what to move forward with or not, because I get to find things that are either close or no one's doing.
Right.
So once I've got that concentrated information, it's much easier to move faster.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So your go-to-market is actually truncated. based on?
Right. My beginning section is a little shorter, but I've got 10 times more information than I would have when I normally would have started.
Right.
I still do visit a lot of stores and do catalog research.
Sure.
I can do so much of this in 10 minutes on the internet that I couldn't before.
Right. It's a huge advantage. It's a competitive advantage, and I'm sure smart about knowing where to look and
you gotta keep asking questions and assume that you're not right.
There it is. So you're testing your hypothesis all the way along.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. So what what would you sort of, if you had 3 things that you could share with somebody who had a creative vision and wanted to start something specifically in manufacturing, because that's your manufacturing retail, since that's your expertise, about maybe identifying their opportunity, with the benefit of using social and digital, and then how will you use that to shape your consumer-facing narrative?
Well, I can say for one, if you want to go into production, don't. It's a royal pain in the ass. You have to be seriously committed. And I find
my dad would tell you the same thing.
Yeah, and I know most people really believe in their ideas, but they don't understand the life commitment it takes to really pull it off. And you got that push and that passion. I'd say go for it. But there's a lot of education involved. It's not just giving it to somebody and hope you get a royalty from it.
Right.
One of the things I've really learned a lot from social media is that through researching a product or an idea through that, I hear voices. I hear voices I never would have heard before. A tone, a product, an attitude towards a company, attitude towards a product, user experiences. Some are valid, some aren't, but it gives you an idea across the board. And it's not a complete way to hear your audience, but you hear some of the loudest voices. And that's sadly, sometimes for my ego, it's been a negative, but it's saved me a lot of money.
Right, there you go. I mean, again, a benefit of researching on the interwebs. There's just a wealth of information. Yeah. Gosh, Tony, I could talk to you all day, but it's
you have before.
Yeah. Oh, I know we have.
Yeah.
Snarky. That might have been snarky. I don't know.
You snarky?
No, you were snarky a little bit.
Oh, I'm always snarky.
Oh, I love you, Tony Levine. Anything else should we tell? One thing I actually kind of want to tell people about is back in the Big Teaze Toys and my former e-commerce business, or no, actually it was just with Big Teaze when I first started working with you and going back to the idea of being able to experiment freely. I also love that you as an entrepreneur, and I imagine you will continue to be this way because you're not ego-driven.
Yeah, I am.
No, you're not. You're not ego-driven in listening to your team and ego-driven in listening to a potential audience and your customer. You just said it. You said, okay, it hurts my ego.
I try to, and I try to use that against my ego.
Right, I get that. But to me, that's not being ego-driven. That's knowing that you have an ego and listening and going, how do we integrate that? But what I was going to say is, you remember it was an Oscars night, and long before Oreo came along and the lights were out during the Super Bowl and, had this real-time stuff that was happening and everybody's head exploded because it seemingly had never happened before. Well, it was happening, just not on as big a scale as the Super Bowl, right? When the lights went out. And there we were doing a live Twitter chat about the Oscars that night and commenting on everybody's fashion and that sort of thing. And you were participating and watching. And at some point you dropped in and said, well, you couldn't have texted me. I think you called me. Called me and said, oh my God, let's do a contest. I want to do a contest. All these people are doing, and I was like, what, a contest? Can't, oh, okay, let's do a contest. Not remotely my idea, but I loved that, you were willing, you recognized that there were voices to amplify on behalf of your brand in a really fun way, but also in a way that was completely aligned with the event that we were commenting on. And the contest was, we'll award you some of the higher end, I rub my duckies with the crystals and the boas and all of that for people who commented. And it was like an enter to win. And
well, I never would have been able to wrap that around if you hadn't exposed me to that whole arena and have done some education for me.
Right. But I love that because it was very collaborative. So in that context, I was your client and I was showing you and counseling you what I believed was possible, but you were able to see a step further and we're willing to go there.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay, well, I'm game. Let's pivot. And hey, guess what, everybody? Contest.
Yeah. 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 Do you remember the one we did when we came out with the Paris Ducky? We had an internet contest for, I guess, I don't remember whether it was a design contest or just a drawing. And we had thousands of people show up to it, but we said, enter in, register, and the person we pick who loves whichever Paris Ducky you love the most got a free trip to Paris.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I do. And you know what else? Now, if we took that same brand and the brand assets and the passion and the emotional enthusiasm that the customer base had for the Duckies and later the Flower Power Zone, but the Duckies specifically,
yeah.
Can you imagine the business you could have done with Instagram? That was a brand made for Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would have been completely different.
I know.
Completely different.
I mean, you used the assets you had, but yeah, launching today, and I often think that my business too is a little bit ahead of its time because I want to do a lot of user-generated content, and people just couldn't wrap their heads around it.
Yeah. Well, you had the best execution for a site focused towards women that anybody was doing at the time. I mean, actually, it's still better than what a lot of people were doing at this time.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Curtsy.
Yeah. You had right graphics, right finesse, and you were trying to speak to people.
I was trying to speak to people. One of my pride points was when I went to go sell the business, one of the longstanding businesses who had always been focused on women in particular, and really, had they not preceded me in business, I wouldn't have been able to have my business, but my business was really an answer to theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And the technology at the time, there was live chat. I mean, we certainly couldn't do this. Skype was there, but it wasn't something you would use as a tool to market your business. But so there was live chat, and I would be able to see through my live chat that this particular business was going through my site and literally going through every single page, every single one. And I remember just sitting back and going, well, that's interesting. And they were there for hours and on this particular day. And then they went away and I went, they must have been going to lunch. Okay, they got what they needed. And then a couple hours later, they were back. And I went, oh, OMG. And that was fascinating to me and also a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, now what are they going to do? Are they going to try to because I was not trying to emulate them at all, actually.
Yeah, you weren't. You weren't even close. You were just
right. It really was an answer to them. I fully respected what they were doing. It just wasn't my audience. And then when I went to go sell, they got in touch and we had a beautiful long discussion. And in the end, they did not purchase. And one of the reasons was, first of all, the recession was hitting and they were keenly aware of that and felt like they were going to overextend themselves. But the other reason was they said that I had developed a voice and an identity for this brand that they didn't feel that they could ever duplicate or replicate or continue with the same level of integrity and consistency. And that was disappointing to me, but also, as I said, it was a pride point. And see, I might get pumped again. But really, that because I admired so much about what they had built, and to think they had been watching with admiration in turn was really a nice feeling. That was very rewarding.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, and then I said, well, how about you guys buy it and I'll stay on, and it'll be like the boutique for another segment of your audience, and I'll maintain that voice. But again, recession.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was that. Well, Tony, thank you so much for, getting up early, having coffee, having breakfast early.
You're welcome.
Anything else you want to share with the folks at home?
Can you see the big cat butt in the corner?
I see the cat butt. Now I know what that is.
I live in the house the cat butt bought. This one was in Japan. It was put on the back of the semi-truck.
Hold on, I got to do a screenshot. Do that again. Screenshot.
I've had this one since 1986 in my house. This is the house the cat butt bought.
That is crazy. I love it. I love it.
That was a year project. And within 9 months, we sold 350,000 units, something like that. So you hit the right niche and make people laugh, you can do some stupid stuff.
Well, I think that should be a great way to close. I'm going to say to everybody, Big Teaze Toys still lives. Tony sold the business, but it's really fun. It's really all about the F word. Go check it out. And we will let everybody know when Tony's new adventures are official and can be talked about, because I have no doubt they will be fabulous, because I know you. And maybe we'll even work together. Who knows?
Cool.
I don't know. And that is a way to wrap up Friday Fun Day. For anybody who would like, hold on. Here's me. For anybody who would like a recap of, I believe it's now the 6 videos that we did around Small Business Week, I will do a blog post. I will share that out through email. Just go up there, right up there, click message, or go to KarenCooks.com and subscribe to the newsletter, which I do not bombard your inbox with. It's, twice a month at most. And we'll stay in touch, and we'll let you know what the highlights were, because there were really good things, like Tony with valuable information and business inspo. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Lunch soon.
Deal.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.